Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by. In this video, I'm going to show you a recent production that I had in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, so this is the package that I'm bringing to Atlanta for the 3-day conference. So I'm trying to utilize the cart as much as possible because if you ever work any conferences, parking is usually pretty far away. So I'm going to try and load up the cart as much as I can before I put it into the actual van. So I have 2 camera packages on the bottom, 2 FS5s that are fully built, a 600X with the ballast. Then I have 2 Sackler Video 20 tripods, 2 Matthews light stands in the middle, and then a bunch of random smaller stands here. I have gold mount batteries in this crate, production monitor, slate, boom pole, just a bunch of random little accessories. And then I have XLRs, actually Stingers on this side, XLRs are on the other side here, as well as a couple other little Stingers as well. I have a T-bar solution here. But yeah, once I park and get the cart out, I'll load it up with 2 C-stands and a combo stand. I have these little combo stand hangers and then C-stand hangers on this side. And then other items that I'm bringing, I have more C-stands, more combo stands. I'll have to bring some dirt as well, or actually shot bags now. I have 2 director's chairs in the van. They wanted that for the interviews, so I have 2 director's chairs. I have some like diffusion domes if we need them. I have a 1200D with the reflector set. And then on this side here, I have 2 more camera packages. I have a gimbal with the A7 IV, and then I have a FX3 fully rigged out with a 24-70 on there. I do have another tripod in case I need it, some random tubes if we need them, and then I do have my like cine saddle harness there. Just with it being a conference, I might go handheld or have someone go handheld for me. But yeah, it's a pretty hefty package. I'm not quite sure exactly all that we're going to use, but yeah, we're loaded to the brim, so it's better to have it than not to have it at all. And then I do have a bunch of flags here. This middle part was kind of sagging, so I just did a little safety line to kind of keep it up. But yeah. So I'm going to load up the cart now in the van, and then we'll be ready to hit the road. So I made it to Atlanta. I'm at the hotel right now. Another reason why I love this little production van. These are 6'6" clearance in the parking garage. And I'm able to park because my van's so low. Typically if I was in a bigger car or truck, I probably wouldn't have been able to park in the garage. Would have had to park across the street. But this is pretty nice that I'm really close to the elevators there, and I can just in the morning wheel my stuff up to the conference room and start getting set up. Unfortunately, I don't have access to the conference room tonight. That would have been nice to be able to get set up tonight, but you know, it is what it is. Just have an early morning tomorrow. and the parking lot is parking structures really empty right now. So yeah. So for this production, I was given a very basic conference room. Not a whole lot to work with. The walls were plain. There just wasn't any sort of furniture or anything like that. It was just an empty room, which, you know, as video creators, that's kind of what we have to do. This is our blank canvas and we have to just make it work. So I knew to get creative, I was going to shape the light as much as possible. Typically, if the room is not very nice, if you can shape the light on your talent to make it look good, that will automatically step up the production value. Just like if you're shooting on a black wall or a white wall, being able to shape light, having control over the lighting will definitely make it look good. Also, I was able to go through the hotel lobby and just grab a few little things, just a plant and a lamp as a practical, and that was enough to make it work. So last minute, the client wanted to add some additional items to the shoot. They wanted to have the ability to be mobile. They wanted to get some man on the street interviews. They wanted to get some B-roll. Originally, I was just contracted to do formal interviews, but then they started adding some more items onto the list. So last minute, I had to hire someone else to help me accomplish all of this and to shoot some B-roll and shoot some man on the streets while I was in the room doing formal interviews. And I want to give a big shout out to S. He is based out in Dallas, but he was able to come on the shoot and just be a general help for me and a second shooter. And he did such a great job. He definitely knows his stuff. So big shout out to him. Thanks for jumping in last minute when I needed someone. So this is the formal interview setting that we have. Just a traditional conference room. We have two Sony FS5s running internal codec 4K S-Log 3. Then they have Sigma Glass 18 to 35, 1.8, and then 50 to 100, 1.8. Then we have two Sackler Video 20s. I would have liked to have had this camera be a little bit out more to give a better second angle, but we're just in a really small space. So I didn't want to shoot against that partition. So that's why they're kind of right next to each other, but we needed two camera coverage. I have an Aputure 60X with a spotlight mount, just kind of putting some shape on the wall. Director's monitor, that's kind of what the frame looks like. Can't really tell with someone not in the space, but innovative cart, that's what I use to get everything up here. Two director's chairs, one for talent, one for director. I have a 600X Pro going into a Ultra Bounce floppy, and then a 6x T-bar with this is a silk fabric from Broca, and it's the Rose Garden. And this one is the 6x6. Then for like a backlight, hair light, I have a 4-foot aperture tube. I have a bounce here, and then this is a 2-foot aperture tube, just kind of throwing a little bit of light on the bounce because we weren't really getting that much because the light is so soft. So we needed to add a little bit more, and this is super subtle. It just kind of brings levels up on the dark side a little bit more. Then on the background, I have a P60C that's kind of just adding a little lift into this corner. This room was completely blank, so we had to grab a couple of little furniture items from the lobby. Apple box comes in handy as always. I have the slate ready to go. This is the Aputure, sorry, not Aputure, the Deity timecode slate. And then for audio, we're keeping it simple. This is just the Sennheiser MKH1200 that is going straight into camera A. Then camera B, I'll probably have a lav system, so that way we have boom on this camera and then lavs on that camera. We are doing formal interviews in here, but then we also have some other additional sets during the conference. We have like a man on the street B-roll camera. So this is just to get quick little sound bites if we need them. It's going to a Rode wireless stick mic here. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys what the lighting looks like one by one, so you can kind of see the breakdown on what everything is doing. So on the SIDIO app, I'm going to go ahead and strike key light. Let's see if I can do this. Boom. Key light gone. Next, I'm going to strike, let's see this hair light, T4C. Done. Okay, next I'm going to strike this tube light. Okay. Next I'm going to strike this background light, the 60X. Okay, so now all we're left with is this lamp and this plant, and I can even strike the plant. And the plant was only on like 2%. It could go all the way up, and that's just like overkill. But we'll go to back down to where it was. Yeah, so I mean, this is a pretty standard setup for like a formal interview. I wish I could cut that light, that lamp, but I don't have it connected. I don't have a bulb in there, an Aputure bulb, so it's all good. Now I'll go ahead and turn everything back on so you can see exactly what it's doing. Let's start with, we'll do the pattern on the wall, 60X. And I went pretty warm on that just to kind of match the lamp, warm it up a bit. Now we'll turn on the hair light, and that's at give or take 40%. We'll do this bottom two here, that's just kind of lifting up the shadows on this side. And that's at like 10%. We could go up a little bit more, but then it's too much uplighting. But oftentimes, I just like to fill in the shadows a little bit. Oh, didn't want to change that color. Let's go back to where it was. Okay, now we'll turn on the 600X. 600X is at 60%. But it's bouncing, and then it's coming through this really thick diffusion. So we could, let's see what it looks like if it's lowered. We wanted a really subtle look. There's 40%. And I have a bunch of ND on camera. I think I have a 1/7 ND. We could take ND off if we wanted to. But yeah, this is it at 100% coming through the booklight, so it's doing a bunch. But let's bring it back down to where it was. And this is it. I mean, they're looking this way. There's not a whole lot more we can do. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts in the comments, what you would change, what you would do. I'd be curious to see what other people think about this frame and what they would recommend, just so I can keep improving my skill, and anyone else that's watching, if they want to learn something in the comments, they can do that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. So this was a 3-day shoot. We were here for 3 days in Atlanta, and all 3 days were pretty jam-packed. We were running back and forth between B-roll and interviews and formal interviews and just everything that goes into a conference. There was just a lot of hustle for sure. I get asked all the time why I use Sony FS5s, and you know, when I have FX3s and I have other cameras and other choices. And honestly, the answer is always the FS5 still produce a really good image. Sure, they're older, they're a little quirky to work with. Some of the features feel a little ancient compared to some of the newer cameras. But honestly, at the end of the day, all that matters is the image that you're getting. And I find the FS5s just to be a great all-around camera, especially for the price point, the money. I feel like they still have so much life, so many features that are good. And sure, it'd be easy for me to sell off my FS5s and buy a couple FX6s and that sort of thing, but then I would have to charge a little bit more on the camera rental package. A lot of video editors that I work with, they know how to grade the footage. They know exactly what to expect. The file sizes are very small. There's a lot I have to consider, upgrading cameras. I'm going to need more hard drive space for every shoot. All these interviews, these formal interviews, were anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half in some cases. There's just lots of content that we had to capture. And, if I was using like a Red or any camera that just has a huge file size, like we would just be burning through hard drives, and sometimes it's hard to justify that to an existing client, saying, hey, the camera package is going to be way more expensive, we're going to need way more hard drive space, we're going to need editors that can edit on faster computers, and they just can't understand the cost per value, if that makes sense. And honestly, they don't understand how it's going to be better when they're already happy with how it looks, essentially. They're just, all they can hear is it's going to cost more money. So this is the book light setup that we got going. I do book lights all the time, but this one's a little bit new. Trying to do it all on one stand here. I got the inspiration from Peter Mokri on YouTube here, a fellow YouTuber, and I love this idea. Normally I would have the light on a stand, a low boy or something like that, then I'll have this guy on its own stand, and then this guy, this T-bar, on another stand. So that would be 3 stands, but right now we're making it work on one. I'm using a low combo stand. I could have used a C stand, but the low combo stand is a little bit more sturdy, and it's also one of the stands that I had available. I'm using C stands for some other things like this guy, so we can angle the bounce, and then I'm using another C stand on this guy so we can use the arm, and then another C stand on here. So kind of using all my C stands right now. I could get more from the truck, but I just have the 3 right now, so that's no problem. So here's a look at some of the footage. I didn't include any of the B-roll just because that's kind of typical, kind of boring, but I wanted you guys to see some of the interview footage and what that looks like. We were shooting with, obviously a mixture of cameras. We had Sony FS5s, we have FX3s, A7 IVs, that sort of thing. So you can kind of see how everything cuts together. So it is nice to have the latest camera and, can shoot 8K, can shoot 12K, whatever it is. That's great.
But what's more important to me is lighting. I feel like being able to shape your light will ultimately affect the quality of what you're getting. I've seen so many videos with people using really high-end cameras, but they're not really shaping the light, and it just doesn't look that great. Sure, the image quality, the resolution, the sharpness, all that stuff is there. But if you can't shape the light, or you don't have time to shape the light, or you don't have the necessary skills, I would focus more on lighting than cameras for sure. And that just goes to show you, even in 2024, you don't need really high-end cameras to do a bigger production. You can use cheaper cameras. Obviously, I wouldn't use like an iPhone on a shoot like this, or something like that, but you can get away with very little when it comes to the camera department, as long as your lighting is on point. So oftentimes when you're filming interviews, you set up for just a single person. But how many times have you had like the producer or the director say, "Hey, we need to add another person in there," and have two people on camera at the same time, three people on camera at the same time, whatever it is. And they don't understand what it takes to light more people, as opposed to just lighting one person. And I get everything dialed in for one person, and then once I put two people in there, it's completely different. And the issue I always run into is, whenever I do a big source, there's always going to be one of the talent that is closer to the source. So oftentimes it's hard to get even exposure on both people, especially because the one who is closest to the source is going to be a little bit more overexposed, just naturally being closer to the source. I'll usually get a little bit of negative fill just to kind of block a little bit of the 6x, so that way it's not hitting the closest person so harshly. So you can kind of see in this video the difference. I'm kind of putting the flag in, taking it out, so that way you can kind of see. And ultimately, you just want to cut the light a little bit more, so that way you can get proper exposure on both people. Ideally, I would want to use like a double net, but I didn't have one close by, so I used just a flag, in this case, a 40x40 flag. If you don't have a flag, you can also use a silk. If you have a 4x silk next to you, you can use that. Just anything that's going to cut that light, and you can put it on a C-stand so you can position it exactly where you need it to be. Also, having a production cart and a rock and roller cart on this shoot was huge. I knew coming into it, being at a hotel, being at a conference center, like everything's always spread out, and you just have to be able to get gear from your car to wherever. So it's definitely clutch having like a production cart, having a rock and roller cart, and I'm able to just make a few trips and then I'm done. I got everything packed up, ready to go. But yeah, thanks so much for watching this vlog, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks, S, for coming out to this shoot. I hope you found some of this helpful in any way, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll catch you guys in the next one.